Notes, my goats. Notes, my goats. Welcome back.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Notes My Goats podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Brandon.
What's going on, dude?
Dude, not a whole lot. It's we're just, moving and grooving at this point.
Yeah, we're getting through May
We're
here pretty good. It's
yeah.
coming up on our second week of May.
Yeah.
I got some birthdays in my family this week. My wife's birthday's this week. My oldest son turns 21.
Nice.
Jeez, Louise, I got a 21-year-old. I will have a 21-year-old in a
You
couple of
will.
days.
Yeah.
He turns on the 14th.
Okay.
My boy turns 21. I'm pretty excited for him.
Nice.
I'm not going out with him because no way in hell am I that guy.
Right.
Not anymore.
No.
But I'll be seeing him probably the next week or so to get him some drinks.
There you go.
Get out there with him and celebrate a little bit.
Yeah.
But just kind of having some fun. How are you doing?
We're good, man. Just kind of getting into the swing of things of literal softball. So just
Little softball, yeah.
little
Just,
softball, yeah. So
every
next,
now and then.
the next 2 months is full of softball, and it's going to be great. So that's kind of where we're at this point. Yeah. So can't really complain too much, and I'm not really going to complain a lot during our episode today, Steve.
I would hope not.
No, absolutely not. So, guys, if it could happen because you do listen to the Notes McGoes podcast, but if you are illiterate and you can't read what we're talking about today, we are talking about Fall Out Boy and their newest album, which crazy to think this wasn't even originally, Steve. I just wanted to do Fall Out Boy because
Yes.
we hadn't done Fall Out Boy, and
We hadn't done it yet.
honestly, another one of their other albums was on the list, not this one. And all of a sudden, I looked it up, and we're like, oh, there's a new album from them that's
Yeah, I told
out.
you there was a new one. I said there's a new one coming out, and you were like, what? I said they're touring.
Yeah,
And you're like, what? I said they got a tour this summer.
Yeah.
They toured with Weezer and the Hella Mega Tour
yeah,
last summer.
right.
And me and you talked about going because we were like, we should go to this. And then we're both dads and broke. Well, necessarily broke, but I think it was time.
Just
We couldn't find the time.
We're just
There was one in Cleveland, there was one in Detroit. We were like, really want to go, but it was like midweek. And I'm like, I can't do that. I gotta work.
right.
But so I was like, they're touring, and you're like, what? And I've been on the concert ticket shtick
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah,
It's becoming a problem
yeah.
for my wallet, not really for me because I'm super pumped for everything I got coming up. Holy
Right.
crap. And my family's going on vacation in the end of next month. Well,
Okay.
turns out Fall Out Boy's tour, the first 3 shows, they're touring with Alkaline Trio.
Oh,
And their third show is in Bonner. I'm going to say Bonner, not Boner. Good old Mikey. Bonner Springs, Kansas.
Okay.
I have not been there ever. Don't even know where it is. Technically, it's North Kansas.
Okay.
That shit matters. But
it's all one and the same.
all Kansas. But we're driving out to like Vegas and the Grand Canyon during that same time. We're actually going to drive to Kansas, see the show, and the next day we're going to drive to like Colorado and kind of work our way across the country as we get down to Vegas. But my wife was just like, "Well, you should go." And tickets were relatively cheap. That was the first like domino that fell in my concert buying bandwagon.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot more since then.
There's been a lot. Yeah.
I keep telling you I'm not gonna buy tickets, and the next day I'm like, dude, this guy's coming.
Yeah, you're like the other day you were just like, man, I shouldn't buy tickets. Literally. And then 20 minutes later, you're like, I bought tickets. And I was like, are you kidding me?
I'm pretty sure we were chatting, and I was like, there's tickets to this show coming up, and you're like,
and I was like, oh, that'd be sweet. And you're like, yeah, I just bought them. And I was like, what?
Just said you were gonna do that. I was fighting with my wife, and I'm like, then I asked you, if you're fighting with someone, how do you tell them you just spent $100 on concert tickets? And you're like, you don't.
Yeah.
You save that conversation for later.
For later. You just show up at the show and be like, hey, look at that. We got tickets.
36 hours later, I definitely broke that news. She was cool with it though. I mean,
Good.
we stopped fighting about 12 hours later, but
yeah,
it was a decent one on our end. But so yes, I am going to see Ed Sheeran in July. I don't give a shit.
There you go. Absolutely. But we're not talking about Ed Sheeran, and
Not
we're
today.
talking about Fall Out Boy's new album, and that it's titled "So Much for Stardust."
It is. And we haven't done Fall Out Boy yet. I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't, because we're both huge fans of the band
and the genre
and the genre of music, and they're heavy hitters.
They are heavy hitters.
I mean, and they were gone for a while, and they came back, and they just kind of took off running again, changed some things up, and kept going. So,
I mean, now
a backstory on Fall Out Boy.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, right. It's amazing timing for them. American rock band from Willamette, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. This is in a Chicago suburb. Houses probably still cost over $1 million, because they always do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the size of the room I'm sitting in right now.
Yeah.
They formed in 2001. Been active from 2001 to 2009. And we talked about that hiatus they took. They were a hiatus from 2009 to 2013. From 2013 to present, they've been active, taking breaks here and there because they are getting a little older. They've got kids, families, and things like that. Other stuff going on. But pretty much for the last 10 years or so, they've been active again with a 4-year break in the middle. Now they are the same 4 band members that have been with the band are still with them, except one is on a bit of a break right now. We'll get into that in a second here. But band members, we got Pete Wentz
on a break.
Yes, Pete Wentz is the bass player and backup vocalist. Patrick Stump, lead vocals and guitar. Joe Trollman is a guitar player, and Andy Hurley is on drums. Now, Joe has taken a hiatus from the band about 6 months ago. There's no definition if he's going to be back with the band for the upcoming shows in the U.S. tour that starts right around June and middle of June, kicking off at Wrigley Field. But he might. If not, he does guitar and keyboards on a lot of the tracks, and they actually have a guitarist and a keyboardist that are filling in for him. So if he can't make it, they have people that are there to help. Mm-hmm. He's got mental health issues, just needed a break. It happens to the best of us sometimes.
Yeah.
The band actually was started by Pete Wentz and Joe Trollman, with Patrick Stump joining shortly thereafter. Mm-hmm. They ended up going through about 5 or 6 drummers before they landed on Hurley. Before they landed on Andy Hurley, he was the drummer, but he's been with them since their first album came out. The debut came out. The debut album, as I said, was Take This to Your Grave. It was an underground success fueled by heavy touring. And I would say most pop punk fans see this as like a bedrock album. This is an album that like either got you into pop punk or like really was instrumental in like keeping you in the scene in the early 2000s. Because pop punk kind of got pushed aside a little bit by nu metal, or like the pop punk, like really more pop-ish of like Blink-182 was more poppy than it was really that harder punk music. And Fall Out Boy was kind of that bridge back into here, and then they kind of bridged into emo music as well. Now, this is something that boggled my mind. Their first #1 album, Brandon, was not from Under the Cork Tree. It was Infinity on High in 2007.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And
the funny thing was, it was followed up by their worst charted album of all time, Folie à Deux. Mm-hmm. They've had 8 studio albums. 4 of those 8 have been #1s. The one that's currently is not a #1 yet, but it might get there eventually. I think it's number 6 right now, or was number 6.
Right.
2 compilation albums, 32 singles, and I have to mention this, 47 music videos, and they're almost all amazing. Mm-hmm. These guys have an amazing talent for what is funny, I guess, musically, in videos here. They did get 2 Grammy nominations. They didn't win. They had Best New Artist nomination in 2006 and the Best Rock Album for the album that preceded this one called Mania in 2019.
Okay.
So only 2 Grammy nominations. Now, the band here, Pete Wentz is the primary songwriter. So he writes most of the songs. And then Patrick Stump is the composer. He does all of the music arrangements. Mm-hmm. So I thought, as a pop punk like fan and fanboy of all things,
absolutely,
when the band was first started, they walked into a studio to record Take This From Your Grave, their debut album, and the sound engineer talked to Pete and said, "Hey, what do you want out of this? What do you want this to sound like?"
Right.
Pete said, "Hold on." Went out to his car, and grabbed the first 2 Newfound Glory albums and handed them to him and said, "This is what we want. Like, let's go this route here," which it's going to be great. The band cites the Get Up Kids, Weezer, Green Day, the Ramones, the Misfits, and Metallica as influences. Now, Patrick Stump by himself does also credit Mick Jagger, Prince, James Brown, and Michael Jackson as influences on him.
Yeah.
The R&B funkiness, like he kind of goes with sometimes. That's that's influenced him. The band themselves classified themselves not as pop punk, not as like hardcore, not as emo or anything else. They call themselves softcore. I laughed.
Yeah.
Because and their definition of this is hardcore kids who couldn't make it as a hardcore band.
I like it.
They don't have what it takes to be hardcore. So there's like, we like this music, but we're more these people. We're softer.
For sure.
After the band's hiatus, if you are fans of the band, you did notice that 2013 when they came back, they kind of came getting away from that punk sound, went more to like a pop funk electronic vibe. Because they kind of got burned out. And they explained that they tried to advance out and do different things. And the reason they came back is because Patrick and Pete just put their heads together and said, can't keep doing the same old every damn time. Right. And one of their influences was kind of the reasoning behind this is Weezer. They were just like, we want to be like more like Weezer. We want to do more.
Right.
We have all this talent to do different things. Let's do more stuff. So that's what they went. They went with Weezer. I like the Weezer route. How many Spotify listeners do you think they're pulling right now?
Oh man, 9.5 million.
Man, way low.
Oh man. Okay.
22.1.
Wow.
22.1 million monthly listeners.
Wow.
That's a little bit low because they're a little bit above that, but rounding down because that's how it works.
Right.
Now the album, So Much for Stardust, is their 8th studio album. Was released March 24th, 2023, so it's just about 2 months old. 13 tracks, 44 minutes long. Patrick Stump did come out and say this album could have been made so much faster because of how the recording technology has changed. They could have put this album out probably last year or even the year before that. They could have recorded it quickly. But the band wanted to go back to recording it the way they used to do it, in a studio with just them and doing it together. And so it was very important to them to kind of get back to the old ways of doing things.
Yep.
And the sound kind of works that out here. This was actually released by a super pop punk label, Fueled by Ramen.
Okay.
It is the first album that's been released by Fall Out Boy with Fueled by Ramen since their debut album.
Nice.
Because they're no longer with Elektra. They went with Fueled by Ramen. So album was actually produced by Neil Avrorn, who produced Folie à Deux.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now when asked about this, Patrick Stump said this is not a throwback album. Him and Pete Wentz, they came out and said this is a continuation of what would have come after Folie à Deux if the band hadn't taken a hiatus. So he's saying that this sound or these tracks and this kind of vibe would have been what we would have gotten in like 2010, 2011 if they had not taken a break.
Okay.
So as we see it as like a kickback to what they were in like the early 2000s or mid 2000s, they don't see it that way. They see it as like, okay, it's a continuation on of where we were. A little bit of how we are now. So a little bit of everything kind of mixed in there.
Yeah.
3 singles. And they it's the top of the first 3 tracks in the album, which is usually a red flag. But it's Heartbreak Feels So Good, Love from the Other Side, and Hold Me Like a Grudge. So those are your singles here.
Yep.
So I've been talking for a while.
You have been. but it's
let's
fine.
get into your favorite track.
Yeah,
I'm very interested to hear what it is.
I picked I Am My Own Muse.
Did you?
I did as my favorite track. The
Nice.
cinematic orchestral sound throughout this album, but
Mhm.
especially in this song, is absolutely incredible. Song overall is relatively simple in regards to lyrics, nothing too crazy, but the first 40 seconds was pure instrumental, and that for me just sucks me right in. Especially with that the bass beat and groove that was kind of progressing through that track.
Interesting.
So yeah, I Am My Own Muse was my favorite track.
I liked the violin to kick things out when it first started. I like that track too. I'll have a question for you in a couple of minutes about that one
Okay.
because I have my least favorite kind of deeps into that a little bit, so we'll talk about it.
All right.
But my favorite was Fake Out.
Yeah.
Um, the line do you laugh about me whenever I leave, or do I just need more therapy? Is emo back?
I mean,
I'm serious. This song, like many others in this album, cuts so fucking deep that I felt like I was back in the mid 2000s, just getting out of high school, and like not sure what the hell is going on with my life. Like Patrick sells this track. The vocal play between him and Pete is just like it was before. It's so good. I literally could listen to it on repeat, and I did like 3 or 4 different times. It reminds me of Teenage Steve, but also of the 38-year-old Steve who gets stuck in his head sometimes, wondering who was dragging him down. And there's just it's like the I'm okay, I promise by MCR. Like it's such a deep track that you're stuck in your head and everything is fake, and you're telling everybody I'm okay now, but you're not.
right.
Like you're really not. It's I loved it because it kind of gives. I've talked about this in the podcast before. It kind of gives the idea of like when somebody asks you how you're doing, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm all right.
Yeah.
But you're completely fucking fake.
Right.
Because we've been conditioned to do that, and I feel like this track kind of kicked that up. Was Fake Out.
Yep.
I had to listen to the album more times than I will still listen to this album because I love it. But that song like hit me one day, and I was just like, what? Then I pulled the lyrics up, and I'm like, yup. Because sometimes you got to with Patrick's voice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear some misheard lyrics, and you're like, what did he just say? Right. Oh yeah, that could make sense. But yeah, so Fake Out was my favorite, dude.
I like it. No, that's such a great track.
It is. It's amazing. All right, it's time for our first game. And it's me that's doing the first game.
It's you that's doing this.
So, how do I want to do this? The Patrick Wang stump? It's time for the Wang game, guys. All right, Brian, we are back, and thank you, Jair, Driesenga, for that awesome theme song as usual. It's amazing.
Excellent.
Love it. One of my favorites ever. It is time for the Stumpy Wang.
Yep.
So I got two for you.
Okay.
I'm pretty excited about both of these.
Great.
One I feel like is easy. One I feel like has a pop culture reference, and I changed it just slightly. I hope
See, the last time there was a pop culture reference,
I think it's a movie you've seen though, so we're good.
Well, the last pop culture reference, I went straight to hell. So
yeah, there's a couple of those. I think you've seen this one though, so I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm 100% sure there's no chance you're gonna make a rape joke.
Okay.
100%. I will go on record saying that. Fingers crossed, knock on the wood, we're good to go there.
Right.
All right, we're gonna go pop culture one first tonight. Let's ask work here.
Okay.
That Hansel is.
That Hansel is.
That Hansel is.
Oh man.
It's a Zoolander reference. You've seen Zoolander, right?
A long ass time ago. The pink seashell?
No.
Oh my gosh, what am I missing?
It's a Will Ferrell quote.
Say it one more time.
That Hansel is.
So good right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
The line is actually that Hansel is so hot right now.
Yeah.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
Second one. This one I felt like was easier, but also pop culture. Mike's best game. Or Mike's best performance, I'll say.
Who's Mike?
Mike's best performance.
Who is Mike? Best perform.
Mike's best performance.
I Am My Own Muse.
Mm-mm.
Best performance.
Man, I got you.
Baby Annihilation.
Nope. Basketball.
Michael's best performance. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Give me two. Okay. Okay. So, What a Time to Be Alive.
Nope.
The
One more.
The Kingsugi Kid.
No. Flu
Okay.
game.
Huh?
Flu game.
Oh.
Michael Jordan's best performance. The flu game.
Was the flu game. Yep. Sure was.
These are Chicago kids. You know that was there for a reason.
Yeah.
The flu game is a Michael. I'm 100% sure it's a Jordan reference.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I thought that was the easy one. Damn.
Oh my gosh.
And I changed it to Mike and not Michael because I wanted to throw you off.
Well, there you did. You threw me off.
Man,
okay. Who is mine?
I felt really good about that. Man, okay, well.
No, that was good. I liked it.
Flu game, yeah.
Good job, Steve.
All right, so it's time to get into our least favorites, and I'll start.
Okay.
So I picked Pink Seashell.
It's not even a track.
Exactly.
Is that
I had kind of. I like listen to this entire album, and I enjoy when Pete gets into his feels and goes eclectic. I 100% enjoy it. The monologue from Reality Bites is great. Ethan Hawke is phenomenal. I picked this one because of the following track and how it relates. I felt like Baby Annihilation, the other spoken word track, which is actually Pete singing a drop poetry or beat poetry kind of track, fits better with the Kinsurgi Kid to give it a slight edge. But it tells a phenomenal story. It's a love and loss kind of situation of a story, which works. And it works with I Am My Own Muse. But did you realize that the Pink Seashell and I Am My Own Muse were not the same track? When you listen to this one first, like if you wouldn't listen to it, like if you wouldn't have had like the song list in front of you and you're just like walking around the house listening to the album.
Yeah.
Did you realize that they were different tracks?
I mean, the only reason why I did was because there was a track break between.
Very small, though.
Very small, but enough for me to be like, oh, that must be different. Because I was very much, because like you, Steve, I will scroll the track list and then I saw featuring Ethan Hawke. I was like, what is that guy doing on a track? So then when it got there, I was very intentional about listening to it. And then all of a sudden it
breaks a little bit. What I thought that was when I first listened to it, because it's the same thing as you. I was like, Ethan Hawke. Shit. And then I realized it was Reality Bites, and I was like, I've seen that movie before. Awesome. Right. That's an amazing, it's an amazing story. But what I thought it was is like an interlude to the song. Like it was like we start off with this, and they've done this before.
Yeah.
With songs. They've actually had this happen where they've done this before and it's led into a track. And I Am My Own Muse is a beautiful song. Mm-hmm. And the Pink Seashell goes right into it, and it's done very well. I just felt like Baby Annihilation, kind of that, it's just that weird poetry sound. In the Kinsurgi Kid, it was just like boom, boom, boom. Like there was not as much of a disconnect between the two. And I did go stupid and pick one of the two spoken word tracks because I couldn't find another one that I was like, it would have been super duper nitpicky. Even this one was nitpicky, but it's also not the Fall Out. It was not Fall Out Boy per se.
I got you.
So before I get into your least favorite, do you think that worked well? Like going from Pink Seashell into My Own Muse, like did that have any bearing on you picking I Am My Own Muse? As your favorite?
No, because I separated the two.
Because we look at album composition, and sometimes that does help or hurt, depending on the sack.
Right. I mean, it's fine. I don't think it lends anything. It doesn't sway the needle either way
Okay.
in regards to like it didn't benefit the album much, but it also didn't take away from the album much, I don't think. Because
Okay.
the album overall is eclectic enough that, you know, just the fact that it was like Ethan Hawke, I was like kind of into it, but then it went right. It did go pretty much right into I Am My Own Muse. There was that disconnect.
Just the
for me.
slight jump. Yeah, I see. I get you. Okay, I wanted to see because when I looked at my least favorite, I had to kind of find a way to like figure it out,
Yeah.
and it was between Pink Seashell and Baby Annihilation, and
Yeah.
I had to kind of figure it out. Okay, how does it fit in the album? Does it really mesh? How does it mesh better? And that was my determination. I'm making Pink Seashell my least because of how the change was from the next track and how it blended.
Yeah. No,
So-
I get it completely.
All right, so that was mine. Was Pink Seashell. What was your least favorite?
Mine was actually the track that preceded the Pink Seashell.
Oh,
So good right now. Was my least favorite. For me, this track just seemed the most cookie cutter, old school Fall Out Boy that I wasn't really digging what was going on with it.
Mhm.
The rest of this album was what was the old sound that we all know and love, added a 2023 spice that just gave it a little bit extra. You know what I mean? The rest of this album. And this song to me, you know, I'm starting to come up with better analogies, good analogies of what
Mhm.
what songs kind of are like. And to me, this song is like a boiled chicken breast unsalted.
Cooked by a white person.
Huh?
Cooked by a white person.
Absolutely. 100%. That was this track for me. So
Okay.
it is what it is. Not a bad track, but it is what it is. So speaking of things that is what it is, Steve, it is time for our second game of the night. And it's my turn. It's time for the So Much Chat. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is Shatner's Poetry Slam.
All right, Steve. So we are back for So Much Chat. It is my time. So I've got 2 tracks for you.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So here is your first one, Steve. 6 a.m. Mulholland Drive. Moonlight Sonata and I. First movement, you and I. And a screw top bottle of wine.
Heartbreak feels so good.
I've unspooled on the floor. I feel so a star is born. Kiss my cheek, baby, please. Would you read my eulogy? I will never ask you for anything except to dream sweet of me. I will never ask you for anything except to dream sweet of me. Tell me where the party ends. Will you still love who I am? I am. I'll read this next verse and see. Star-crossed lovers forever. I'm checking myself out forever.
Love from the other side.
Nope. I'm saving this all for
Single.
later.
It's a single. No.
Nope.
No, it's not.
Nope.
It's is it Heaven, Iowa?
It is Heaven, Iowa. Yes, sir. Nice work.
With the setup I got going on right now, I was looking on Spotify and I can't listen to the song. Usually I can listen to the song while you're talking, but it won't let me because right now it's not doing it. That's okay.
Got it. All right. Here's your next one. I'm pretty sure as far as humans go, I am a hard pill to swallow. And I know I'm not your intended dose. We're going low. So roll the highlights. Got too high life. Mix the low lights with the low life.
Sirgi Kid.
Yep. Nice work. Nice job, Steve.
That was almost my favorite track.
Yeah, so good. So good. So let's get into our deep cut tracks on this one, Steve. And I have a sneaking suspicion based on a previous conversation that has been had tomorrow.
Back to the Future?
I'm predicting the future. Predicting the future, Steve. That you and I share the same deep cut track.
Well, it's not it's we're not alone. When I do my research and I look over albums and I look over stuff, I tend to find myself on Reddit quite frequently.
Sure.
And Reddit is a very I just got more cake.
Gosh.
I know, it's just cake delivery just keep happening. There's so much cake.
Tina knows where I live.
I'm not even gonna cut that out. There's just cake being delivered to me while I'm podcasting. I like this. This is awesome. Doesn't happen very often. Hey, we're not fighting anymore. Yeah.
So you get cake.
You get cake. So when I go to Reddit and I check out like kind of stuff what people saying about tracks, because it gives me kind of an idea of like what's going on. And if I'm like not even following the trend or following masses, but like if people are on the same wavelength that I'm on, when I say I really like this one, or I'd like that one, or I'd like dislike this one, or dislike that one, it kind of gives me an idea. Not that I want to like follow the huge path and like be a front runner. I want to kind of know like, am I in the same genre of everyone else? So how I picked this, and I picked What a Time to Be Alive.
Same, bud.
It's the 12th track on the album. It's damn near the end. There's only one more track on there, and it's So Much for Stardust, which is a great track as well, and does end the album very, very well. But this track is incredibly freaking dark. And it sounds so freaking happy.
You know what it reminded me of? We'll just talk about it because it's both our deep cuts, so we might as well just talk about it.
Yeah, what'd you remind you of?
Earth, Wind, and Fire's song September.
Yes.
Do you remember the 21st night of September? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, it's like, hey, Yabe Outcast.
Yes.
No, it should not be that happy. And you're like going after it, and you get that disco pop feel, that funky bass line, and you're like, wow, this upbeat. Like, and it's hard for Patrick to sound depressed. His voice already hits that high register.
Yeah.
And he's got that weird Patrick Stump sounding voice already.
Yeah, like
you're just like,
you already know it's him.
You're just like, man, that guy's in a good mood. And then I know that Pete Wentz writes most of these songs.
Sure.
And Pete has got some demons, had some demons forever. And it's just like, wow. Because this song is, I mean, what do you think the song's about? Like, to you, what's the song about to you?
I mean, honestly, I just liked it for the beat.
Okay.
So I was more surface level on it, but what did I put in my notes? Because maybe I actually did say something.
The beat's awesome.
The beat is awesome, but like, yeah, I mean, that's all I really had was on like the musicality of it all.
Well, and the music's great. It's fantastic. It sells the track as something that you're like you're like bopping to, and you're like, wow, this is really good. Yeah. And then you listen to the lyrics and you realize it's about the pandemic and how the singer is incredibly depressed and craving human interaction, and they don't know how to process it because they want human interaction, but they're going to push it away.
Right.
It actually talks about the longing of going back to 2019 when things were normal.
Right.
And it goes about the level, how the quarantine period of 2020 and 2021 really impacted Pete. That's Pete. Yeah. And how he wasn't able to really deal with it and didn't know how to deal with it except to be like crazy depressed. I will say this. I'm going to steal a line from this song. Everything is lit except my serotonin.
Yeah.
Is an amazing lyric. Between like the track before this is the Kintsugi Kid, 10
Yeah.
years, and I nearly picked that song because it talks about being incredibly fucking broken. And honestly, Baby Annihilation, the Kintsugi Kid, and What a Time to Be Alive,
Mhm.
that 3-track like arc
Mhm.
are incredibly depressing.
Sure, absolutely.
Like Kintsugi, if you didn't know what Kintsugi is, it's actually a Japanese art form of taking broken pottery and remaking pots with it.
Oh,
When they fuse it together with the gold leaf and they fuse the pot back together with the gold,
yeah.
you've seen those pots. Kintsugi
Yeah.
is that. It's breaking a pot and then putting it back together with like gold leaf
Oh,
and
wow.
like fusing it back together.
Yeah.
And like you take something that's been broken and you remake it.
Interesting.
That's what Kintsugi is. And the Kintsugi Kid, and it's saying 10 years is
Right.
it's about battling a substance abuse problem for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like the reemergence of I am cracked, I'm beaten, I'm broken, but I'm back.
Right.
And I feel somewhat okay. And then What a Time to Be Alive comes out and you're like, yeah, he's good now. It's great. And you're like, he's not good no more. He's still not good. What the hell?
Right.
And it's such a tongue-in-cheek reference, but this band has been known to do that. I mean, we talk all the time. These guys might be one of the best bands what has those amazing emo style song titles.
Mm-hmm.
Now we talk about them. We're going to talk about it tomorrow because tomorrow we're doing a draft
Yes.
for Fall Out Boy. But there's some amazing song titles here, and then we can just go back and I'll throw you a couple of them out that people won't think these are actually the same song titles. But let me see. I'm gonna pull up. Let me see. Folly Ado, headfirst slide into Coopertown on a whim. It's a good one. Our lawyer made us change the name of this song.
Yeah.
Tell that Mick he just made my list. I'm like a lawyer, by the way, with all the ways I'm getting you off. A little less 16 candles, a little more touch me.
Yep.
This ain't a scene, it's an arms race, which if you haven't heard that video being misrepresented in the what you heard of Patrick saying, there's a YouTube video of that song. It's
Interesting.
amazing. They changed the lyrics and you can actually hear it. Of Patrick saying different things.
Yeah.
It's like the misheard lyrics video.
Sure.
The whole fucking video is,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Let me see here. You're crashing, but you're no wave.
That's a good
Like,
one.
there's so many fun ones in here. Of all the gin joints in the world, I've got a dark alley and a bad idea. Like, champagne for my friends, real shame for my enemies. Like, there's just I slept with someone in Fall Out Boy, and all I got was this T-shirt.
Right.
Like, or all I got. Oh no, and all I got was this stupid song written about me. I slept with
Yeah.
someone in Fall Out Boy, and all I got this stupid song written about me.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is it's a funny track.
it's
good track.
they're all good.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so much fun, but a lot of these songs they hide behind that fun song title.
Yeah.
And Pete, the dude's battling demons. He's been battling demons forever.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can't just push it back there. So What a Time to Be Alive, if you've listened to the track and you're like, that's fun, like Brandon, you're like, that's musically, it's amazing.
Mhm.
It is.
Yep.
Go back and listen to the lyrics. Like, just like pull it up on Apple Music or Spotify or Amazon Music and click on the karaoke lyrics area and like read the lyrics as he's singing them.
Yep.
And you're gonna go, whoa, that's
Mhm.
different. So that was mine. Let's go into some final thoughts here.
I like it.
So if you're looking for a musical kick in the pants, narrated by Patrick Stump and Pete Wentz with some kick-ass music, look no further. Every single one of these tracks has something to give. It just shows me that we weren't ready for Folly Ado in 2009. Or maybe Fall Out Boy wasn't ready to put something out like Folly Ado in 2009, because I went back and listened to that album, and by most regard of almost all Fall Out Boy fans, if you listen to that album, they'll be like, that one is probably the worst one. After listening to this one and going back and listening to that one, no, it's not. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Just we were too stuck on what Fall Out Boy was before that album. They were going through a rebirth at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
And we just weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
This album is a throwback in some ways to even pre that album, the early 2000s. But lyrically, it's elevated, and the musical composition is top notch. Like, they've learned so much in their 20 some years of being, musicians and artists and into this industry. They've learned so much here. But I will tell you right now, if this is what Fall Out Boy is going to put out for a while, I'm ready and waiting for the stuff, and I can't wait to see them next month when I see them in June with Alkaline Trio. But me and you talked about this before. If this is what a band is going to put out after taking a hiatus and come back with after a pandemic hiatus, man, My Chemical Romance, the bar was just fucking lifted, guys.
Yep.
I hope you're putting out new music. It's rumored you are, but holy shit, you got some stuff to live up to now.
Yep.
And we're ready for it. Give us what we want.
Are you ready for it?
Are you ready to get to this level? Because if Fall Out Boy's gonna do this,
we're gonna review it here when it happens.
Yeah, and we've the bar is set high.
Yeah,
it is set very, very high. Rating for me, man, 9.5.
Yeah,
I didn't go full 10. I was there. I was almost there.
Sure.
I think I wanted a little bit more out of it. The two instrumental or spoken word tracks.
Yep.
But it dropped it a touch.
Sure.
I get why they're there. I totally understand why they're there. But I can't fault it for composition. I can't fault it for musical. I can't fault it for even lyrics.
Right.
It delivers almost everywhere.
Absolutely.
It just didn't feel like a solid. It didn't feel like a 10.
Okay. I hear you.
What do you got?
For me, man, we've touched on it. It's been years since we've had anything from Fall Out Boy. So when we decided to do this new album of theirs, I was cautiously optimistic because it honestly could have gone really good or really bad. With these early to mid 2000s bands coming back with new stuff, to me, you have to come back with top shelf level quality. And to me, this album is that. This album not only brings me back to 2004, but also the band has the understanding that their fan base has grown up. And I think that the music has also grown up a bit as well. It gives us the nostalgic vocals and sound that we know and love, but the cinematic and orchestral sounds used throughout just add a little bit to that and are absolutely incredible. For me, I did not fault them for anything on this album. So, with that said, My Chemical Romance, you need to surpass 29.5 or 19.5 out of 20, because I gave this album a 10 out of 10. You're muted.
Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised you went with 10. I damn near did.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm listening to this one probably 3-4 times a week now because the concert's coming.
Right.
And I want to know it and I want to love it and I want to
because you want to be able
it.
to sing along. And
yes, and between them and seeing Alkaline again for the first time in probably 5 to 7 years.
For sure.
And I haven't seen Fall Out Boy since 2005, maybe.
It's been a while.
And I was working.
The last time I saw Fall Out Boy was just inside of our local mall. I didn't even see them in concert.
Really?
So they were hanging out at the local mall
before a show.
Before the show. Yeah.
Yep. I saw them when they toured up their first couple of albums, and they came here to play. And
they played at the Intersection, right? Is that where they played?
Orbit Room. And Deltaplex.
Yeah.
They played with they toured mid 2000s, like to the 2010s,
Yeah.
with somebody, and they came to the Van Andel.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I saw them, it was either the Orbit Room, which is like 2000 to, well, anywhere from 0 to like I think 3,500, maybe 4,000.
Yeah.
Deltaplex was closer to like the mid levels, so like 6 to 8,000, and then the Van Andel can get to like
Vandals.
15,
Right.
13 to 15 is like the high for there, but depending on the stage.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see them with Weezer. I would have loved to go see them with Weezer. It would have been an amazing show, I think, but I just couldn't pull it. But if I was where I'm at now and that was happening again, yeah, I would do it.
Tickets
But to see with
would have been
Alkaline
law.
Trio,
Oh yeah.
to see with Alkaline Trio, like it was a no-brainer.
For sure. It makes total
Um,
sense.
Yeah, so there's one show that I can't go to so far that I'm trying to find who I can pay off to get this to happen, but it's the Foo Fighters show in Kentucky.
Okay.
We'll see, but that one's out of my reach right now, only because I have to work.
Oh
If
yeah.
I didn't have to work, I would go see them, and if my wife had her passport, I'd go see them in Brazil, but I
There you
considered
go.
it. I'm off that weekend,
Interesting.
and I considered it. I considered going to Brazil because that's also where
Interesting.
Taylor passed away. So
Right.
the same festival he passed away at.
Oh wow.
So I considered it, but
Yeah.
flights would have been a little expensive.
Just a little bit.
Tickets actually weren't that bad.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
also Brazil, and bad
Right.
shit could have happened. I'm not coming back, but
Right. For sure. For
I don't know,
sure.
man. I think you're right. MCR has got some shoes to fill here. They got some pants to come out too. It'll
Yeah.
come out. I think it'll be good. I'm excited. But I'm gonna still bask in the glory of this album. So guys,
Absolutely.
this has been the Notes My Goats podcast. We're doing Fall Out Boys so much for Stardust. We want to thank you for finding us wherever you found us today, whether it be
Mhm.
Spotify, Apple Pods, Pandora, iHeart, and all the other ones, Amazon Music, YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hello.
Hello.
So if you're watching us via video, if you're seeing clips of this on TikTok, hi guys. You might have found this on TikTok. If you found part of us on TikTok and you came watch an episode, thank you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you. Come on back. As you can tell, we have started to get our sound a little bit figured out. Video is
Yeah.
getting a little figured out. So that's going to make things better. We're working on making this podcast bigger and better every single time we record.
Mm.
Just trying to make things better for you guys. So check us out on all of those platforms. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook primarily. We are on TikTok. We're growing there slowly, but we're still growing.
Mhm.
And we are on Twitter, but we don't post on Twitter because of why, Brendan?
Screw you, Elon Musk.
100%. He still lets. I think he still lets Marjorie Tyler Greene on that platform.
Well,
He let her back on there.
former President 45 is on there.
Has he posted recently?
No,
Oh, he's on Truth
his
Social.
his account is open.
Yeah, which he probably opened up that bitch from Georgia's account too.
Probably.
She's my new hatred. I fucking despise her for more reasons than I care to admit. But she can eat the biggest of all dicks. But still say stupid shit because I will cut that all day long and make you look even dumber.
There
I'm
you
alright
go.
with that.
Yeah.
But guys, that has been Fall Out Boys. So much for Stardust. We appreciate you for coming and checking us out. Come back tomorrow. We've got a fun episode coming tomorrow. And then again on Friday. We got 3 for this week.
Absolutely.
So we will see you guys tomorrow around 7 a.m.
Bye, guys.
Notes, my goats. Notes, my goats.